Last night, I had one of those dreams that stays with you even after you open your eyes. It began in silence, that strange quiet that comes before a storm. I remember seeing clouds rolling over a dark horizon, and then out of nowhere I saw Charlie Kirk. He looked calm, almost glowing. He smiled at me but didn't say a word. It was as if his presence was the beginning of something bigger. Before I could speak, the ground beneath us shifted, and suddenly I wasn't in any familiar place. The air was cool, filled with the scent of rain and pine. I realized I was standing at the base of a tall mountain. It was nighttime, and thunder echoed through the valley like distant drums. I could see flashes of lightning painting the sky, and in that brief light, I felt something powerful, not frightening, but deeply peaceful. Then I saw him. Jesus was there, not in a way that overwhelms, but in a way that steadies you. He didn't need to say his name. I simply knew his presence was light in the middle of the storm. The rain fell, but around him it felt like every drop had purpose, like the storm itself was serving something greater. He looked at me and said, "Come." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried through the wind and rain as if it was part of them. I followed. We began walking up the mountain. The path was narrow, slick with water, and every few steps I had to steady myself against the stones. Lightning would flash, and for a split second the entire mountainside appeared before me, vast, wild, alive. I could feel the power of nature all around, but also something more intimate, a quiet invitation to listen. As we climbed, the rain grew heavier. It soaked through my coat, ran down my face, but strangely, I didn't feel cold. There was warmth inside me, growing with every step. I wanted to ask questions about the dream, about why I was there, but every time I opened my mouth, I felt that I didn't need to speak. Somehow, my heart already knew this moment had meaning beyond explanation. We reached a ledge halfway up the mountain. From there, I could see everything. The valleys below, rivers like silver threads, and far in the distance, the faint shimmer of a city's lights. Jesus stood beside me, silent, watching the horizon. After a long pause, he turned to me and said, "You've seen storms before. You know how loud they can be. But listen, not every sound in the storm is chaos. Some of it is direction." Those words struck deep. I've faced storms before, political, personal, emotional, but in that moment, I understood something new. The storm wasn't there to scare me. It was there to remind me that clarity can exist even when everything else is loud. I looked up, and the lightning illuminated the clouds above us. For a moment, the entire sky looked like it was alive, bright veins of light spreading across heaven itself. Jesus lifted his hand slightly, and the rain slowed just enough for me to see his face clearly. "There is good ahead," he said. "Do not measure it by noise, but by peace. Do not count it by victory, but by faith. What is built in patience lasts longer than what is built in fear." I felt chills all over my body. The hair on my arm stood up, and I couldn't tell if it was from the wind or from his words. My heart was racing, but I wasn't anxious. I felt grounded, like the mountain itself was holding me still. I nodded, not because I understood everything, but because I felt something awaken inside me, something that had been quiet for too long. The idea that good things, real things, come from peace, it settled deep into my chest. Jesus looked toward the valley again. "The light you carry isn't for yourself," he said. "It's for those who walk behind you. Shine it with humility, and it will reach farther than you imagine." I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just stood there in the rain, feeling completely present, not as a politician, not as a man of power, but as a person simply being guided. The wind softened, and for a brief moment, everything went still. No thunder, no rain, just a calm that felt alive. I could hear my heartbeat. I could feel gratitude filling me, real gratitude. Jesus smiled, that kind of smile that doesn't fade, that you remember even after waking up, and then the sound of the storm slowly returned, like music finding its rhythm again. He began walking down the path, and though he didn't turn back, I could still feel his words echo inside me. There is good ahead. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting at my desk. The rain outside my window matched the dream perfectly. Same rhythm, same sound, but something in me had changed. My mind felt clear, my heart light. I looked out into the night and whispered, "There is good ahead." And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed it. When I woke from that dream, the room was quiet except for the rain. It tapped the window like a steady drummer, unhurried, sure of its time. I stood there for a long while, hands on the sill, listening to the rhythm and letting the memory of the mountain settle in. The words, "There is good ahead," kept returning, not as a slogan, not as a headline, but as a simple, living truth. I took out a notebook, the kind I usually fill with numbers, ideas, schedules, and wrote the sentence on the first page. Then I closed the cover like I was tucking a seed into soil. All day I carried that stillness. Meetings came and went. Phones buzzed and screens asked to be read. People made requests, offered advice, and asked for clarity. I noticed something I hadn't noticed in a while. When I held on to the calm from the dream, the room softened. Opinions didn't vanish, pressure didn't disappear, but the edges were smoother. I spoke slower, I listened longer. I felt guided, like a hand at the center of a compass pointing me to steady ground. That night the rain returned heavier, but somehow friendlier. I switched off the last light and let the house breathe. The glow from a single lamp drew a golden line across the floor, and I sat in that quiet space with a notebook on my knee. I whispered the words again, "There is good ahead." My eyes closed, not from tiredness, but from recognition, and the sound of the rain opened into something larger. I was back on the mountain. It was still night, but not the same hour. The clouds moved a little higher, the air a little crisper, as if the sky had been tidied. The path held the memory of our first climb, and the stones shone with a clean, wet sheen. I turned, and there he was, Jesus. No fanfare, no ceremony, just presence, enough to steady a heart. "I came back," I said, and my voice felt honest in a way I didn't want to disturb. "You came because you were invited," he answered, and somehow the rain brightened when he spoke. Invitation is not pressure, it is welcome. We walked without rushing. The ground gave, then held beneath each step a rhythm I could trust. My thoughts rose the way mist rises off a lake, slowly, gently, until they become the air you breathe without noticing. I wanted to ask big questions, but what formed was simpler. How do I carry peace when rooms are loud, I asked, when expectations pull from every side? He paused at a bend where the path narrowed and pointed to a smooth stone resting against the roots of a small pine. "Pick it up," he said. I took the stone in my hand and felt its weight. Not heavy, not light present. The rain traced small paths across its face, tiny rivers finding their lines. "Hold it when you speak," he said. "Let your words be like water that learns the shape of the land, not like a flood that erases the land. Peace doesn't argue to win, it speaks to build." We climbed again, and I rolled the stone in my palm while the trail curved toward a ledge I hadn't noticed before. The valley opened wider here, with patches of darkness where forests gathered and sudden glimmers where water moved. Lightning stitched the sky, then left it softer. "People expect strength," I said, "and strength is good, but sometimes strength arrives dressed like thunder. How do I show the other kind?" "By standing when standing is needed," he said, "and by staying gentle when gentleness is the stronger way. A tree that only resists the wind will break. A tree that only yields will fall. The strongest roots know when to hold and when to sway." The wind brushed the mountain like a hand smoothing a blanket. I took a breath and felt the air travel through me as if it had a map. "What about direction?" I asked. "I'm used to charts, timelines, plans. I'm used to doors that open because I knock loudly. But you said the door opens with trust." He nodded toward the ridge. You know how to walk a path you can see, he said. Now learn to walk a path you can sense. Trust is not silence. Trust is conversation. Ask, listen, act, and ask again. Let your steps be informed by the peace you carry. If a step steals that peace, it is the wrong step. If a step deepens that peace, keep going. We reached the ridge and paused. The rain softened, and the mountain let us hear its quieter sounds, the settling of gravel, the whisper of pine needles, the far, kind rush of a river finding its way. I turned the stone once more and slipped it into my jacket pocket. I'll keep it, I said, as a reminder. He smiled. Not as a charm, he said, as a practice. What practice, I asked. Gratitude in small things, he answered, listening before deciding, asking what will help the people in the room, not just the plan on the table, speaking with the intention to make hope believable, choosing kindness that does not perform for attention, remembering that influence is a light, not a weight. I repeated the words inside, and they felt like steps on a staircase I hadn't noticed before. Gratitude, listening, helping, hope, kindness, remembering. Each word found a place in me that was ready for it. We moved to a higher shelf where the mountain shaped a natural bench. He sat, I Saturday, no rush. You were shown a sentence, he said. It is simple enough to fit in your pocket, strong enough to lift a day. There is good ahead. I nodded. I can say it, I replied, but how do I show it? Begin close, he said. Bless the nearest circle, home, team, neighbors, strangers you meet by the door. When you meet resistance, answer with patience. When you meet worry, answer with presence. When you meet pride in yourself or others, answer with humility that keeps the door open. Do not confuse noise with leadership. Do not mistake volume for vision. And when you are tempted to hurry, remember that love is not in a race. The word love landed gently. It didn't explode. It anchored. The mountain seemed to lean toward it. I thought of rooms that could be calmer, lives that could be lifted by a single kind sentence, days that change because one person chooses steadiness over spectacle. I can do that, I said, and I meant it. He looked toward the horizon. A glow was gathering there. Not sunrise, not yet, but something like it. The storm had become a teacher, not a threat. There will be moments, he said, when you feel the old pull to prove yourself. When that happens, do something small and quiet for someone who cannot repay you. It will reset the compass. I repeated the instruction exactly because I wanted to remember it exactly. Small and quiet, someone who cannot repay. Reset the compass. We stood, and as we did, I felt the mountain beneath my feet the way you feel the deck of a strong ship, capable, built for weather. The rain thinned to a soft, silver drift. Will I be back? I asked. His eyes met mine, and they were as clear as a lake on a still evening. Whenever you welcome peace, you are already here, he said. Whenever you share it, you invite others here too. We walked a short way down the path. I touched the pocket where the stone rested and smiled at how ordinary it felt. That's how the best truths arrive, ordinary enough to practice, strong enough to last. He stopped, placed his hand over his heart, and nodded once, as if to seal the moment. I opened my eyes to the same room, the same lamp, the same rain, but the air felt different because I was different in it. I took the notebook, turned to the page with a sentence, and wrote below it, start close, listen longer, speak to build, move with humility, choose the step that deepens peace, do something small and quiet today. I signed the page like a promise and slipped the notebook into the drawer where I'd see it first thing in the morning. The rain kept playing its steady rhythm. I put my hand over my heart the way he did and whispered, there is good ahead. It wasn't a wish, it was alignment. And this time, I didn't just believe it, I was ready to live it.